Hello, I'm here to present my video quiz on chapter 15 through 17. I will begin respectively with chapter 15 and going on to 16 and 17 in that order. Alright, for chapter 15, number 1, what was the key idea or ideas that stood out to you stood out in this chapter to you? Well, some of the main things that stood out to me in this chapter were that there were so many different types of informative speeches, such as speeches about objects, speeches about concepts, and even speeches about events. Another thing was the guidelines for informative speeches that you should have in a play when you're doing an informative speech, which were some were like, don't overestimate the knowledge of your audience. So you don't want to expect that your audience knows something that you're just about to talk about if you haven't explained it to them. Also, you need to know to relate the subject area directly to the audience. You don't want to be too technical or avoid abstractions, because this will tend to make your guests kind of not listen to you as much. You also want to personalize your ideas and be creative. That will keep the attention of your audience. Question 2. What did you learn in this chapter that you did not know before reading it? Well, I didn't know that there were different types of informative speeches, but also I didn't know speeches about objects are usually organized in chronological, spatial, or topical order, and I found that very interesting. Question 3. Why are these ideas important to public speaking? Well, you need to know how to speak well, especially in public speaking, and inform your audience correctly. Because if you're trying to inform them and you don't really know the subject matter or the information, your speech is not going to be credible. Therefore, your audience is not going to believe what you're saying. Question 4. How can these be used in your personal and professional life? Well, I think in the business field, you have to be able to inform, your bosses of new projects that you want to do or new plans that you have for your company. So I find this goes hand in hand in the business field, but also in my field as well, in education. I feel since I want to be a teacher, I have to be able to inform my students in a clear and precise way where they'll actually be able to obtain and be successful with the information at hand. So I definitely need this in my field as well. Chapter 16. What are the key ideas that stood out to you in this chapter? Well, the thing that stood out to me in 16 were the different types of persuasive speeches, depending on how you present your speeches determines how effective your speech will be to your audience. So I found that persuasive speeches really depend a lot on you presenting the information, but also on how you present the information. Question 2. What did you learn in this chapter that you did not know before reading it? I didn't know there are degrees of persuasions from strongly opposed to always strongly in favor for your speech, and your audience judges your speech probably within the first few seconds of that, and that's how they evaluate your persuasive speech. And also, I didn't know that analyzing the different questions on policy, values, and facts. Question 3. Why are these ideas important in public speaking? Because in any case, if you want to be able to persuade your audience, you have to do it in an effective way. And if you're not good at using persuasive methods, you're not going to be successful in persuading your audience to think this way, or if you're in that business meeting to persuade your bosses, or even education to persuade your students to do their homework or to invest in a new online program or things like that. So. Question 4. How can this be used in your personal and professional life? Well, I think as far as a persuasive speech, I go back to the business proposal. If this really goes hand in hand in the business field, because if you want your company to upgrade to this new direct plan, you have to be able to present the information on why you think it'll be successful and how it will benefit the company in order for them to even give you a chance at doing that. In chapter 17, what were the key ideas that stood out in this chapter to you? Well, the thing that stood out to me in 17 was that there are different factors of credibility, which are competence and character. Competence is how your audience thinks how much you know, or if you're an expertise in what you're saying. And character is just like your sincerity and your trustworthiness that you present while presenting the speech. There's also different types of credibility, such as initial, which is what the audience thinks of you before you even start speaking. Derived, what the audience thinks while you're speaking and what you do during the speech. And also terminal, which what the audience think after you've completed your speech. Also, another thing that stood out to me with the different ways of reasoning, which I found that to be very interesting too. Question 2. What did you learn in this chapter that you did not know before reading it? Well, I didn't know that there were different ways to enhance your credibility during a speech. For example, you can explain your level of competence and expertise in the field. You can establish a common ground with your audience. And you can deliver the speech fluently, expressively, and with conviction. That way your audience actually believes and knows that you believe in what you're saying. Also, I didn't know that there were quite a few different emotional appeals in this speech. For example, there's fear, compassion, pride, anger, guilt, and reverence. Question 3. Why are these ideas important to public speaking? Well, in any form of speech, they just help you establish your credibility with your audience to actually know that you know what you're talking about, you actually have conviction and believe what you're saying, and you also are trying to get your audience to believe the same thing. Question 4. How can these be used in your personal and professional life? Well, I think as far as education and other classes, such as other classes, you have to present speeches and you want to do it in a way that is getting your point across to the audience in an effective and efficient manner. Also, you can use this, as a public speaker. If you're trying to persuade, someone to buy something or to do something, you have to have those methods in order for your plan to go to work. So, and also even in education, I feel if I have these tools in the classroom, I'll be able to better teach and present the information to my class. All right, and that brings you to the end of my video quiz. Thank you.